Good afternoon, Walk the Word. Good afternoon and welcome you at our simple financial literacy session here. I'm hoping to bring you great information this afternoon and share with you some of the benefits of being in control of your money. We have some great folks here with us that are professionals and experts in what they do. If you would allow me just to a little bit just to bring these folks to the table. We got Rashad Bannister. He is the Muhammad Ali of money. He has put himself in a place where he's going to make you a champion, and he's going to knock out all these foes and faux pas of how to get to financial success. Then we have Miss Delisa Moore. She's with Frogtown Financial. She does taxes. Her passion is to make the best out of your tax returns, so IRS doesn't make the best out of getting your money. So I hope that you all join us and get a pencil, get a paper, call someone, let them know we're about to get some information that we can start just taking control and all become in this great financial position. Looking forward to our future. So now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ahmad. I want him to be able to give you his presentation of what he do, who he is. So just allow him just to listen or listen in to what he's got to tell you.
Thank you, Minister Galloway. And I just want to first start off by just thanking Walk the Word Church for inviting me in to share my information. I love what I do. I love sharing financial concepts with anyone who's willing to listen. So just to give you a background of myself, I started out in the financial services industry in 2008. So I'm going on my 13th year in financial services. I started off at a small firm here in Toledo, Ohio. And then just this past March, I branched off and started my own company. So I've been doing this. I'm really excited about what I do. So as we get going, I just want to share before we want to spend most of our time answering your questions or answering some questions, but I just want to give you a little bit of background, just enough information to kind of get you intrigued enough to go dig deeper into your own financial picture. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to preface my talks by saying, what I'm doing or what I do is not specific advice for any one individual person. Is very broad. So even when I answer the questions here today, I'm talking in general terms, not specifically advice to any one person that's listening. But what I do is I teach people how to win financially. And winning financially is different for every single person I sit down with, but I believe there are some key concepts into how to win financially. And I think there's really 6 categories that you have to address if you want to win financially and get your financial house in order. And I believe if you put a game plan together for all 6 of these steps, there's really very few things that can fall through. So the first one is cash flow. The vast majority of Americans do not have a monthly budget written down on paper, right? That is very important. If you do not know where your money is going, it's going to be very hard to plan. So understanding your cash flow, understanding what's coming in and what's going out, and actually write it down, put it on paper, using a spreadsheet, however you are comfortable in doing it, you have to track it. No different than if you opened up a small business, you should know your numbers and what's coming into your house and what's going out of your house. So put together a game plan for understanding your cash flow. Debt management, making sure you have a systematic game plan to get completely out of debt. We are in a society that teaches you that debt is a good thing and you should rack up as much debt as possible. That's why everything they want you to put on a credit card with an interest rate, so if you really want to kind of get your financial house in order, is how can we get out of debt as fast as possible? Building an emergency fund. I consider an emergency fund 3 months worth of gross income. So if you make $3,000 a month, you should have $9,000 in your savings. This is not something that's built overnight. This is a lifestyle. Saying that you want to build an emergency fund is not like a New Year's resolution. that falls away by end of January. This is you putting $25 a check, $50 a check, $100 a check in a savings account for emergencies. Because as you know, life is not perfect. Emergencies will happen. And what's going to happen is you're going to get halfway to your goal, and guess what's going to happen? The car's going to break down. The water heater's going to go out. The furnace is going to blow. And you have to take care of that with the emergency fund that you've started to build. But again, it's lifestyle, so don't get distracted by it or upset by it. Just keep doing what you were doing to build up the emergency fund that you have. And one day you will wake up and you will have your 3 months. And then if you're sitting down with someone like me, I'm going to tell you, you really need 6 months. All right. I start with 3 because we all have to crawl before we walk, but you really need 6. The vast majority, the number one emergency that you can probably have is loss of income. In 2008, when we had that economic downturn, it took the average person 7 months to find a job that was paying them what they were making before. All right, so 7 months is a long time to be either underemployed or unemployed. So you want to make sure you start building that 6 months emergency fund. Proper protection. That is one of the foundational pieces of this plan. And proper protection means insurance, life insurance in particular. And this is a concept that we need to do better at as a society, as a community, is making sure we are properly covered in case something were to happen to us, to make sure our family is taken care of, our kids are taken care of, that we don't leave debt behind. It's not just about burial, but when you leave an income stream. You leave the future of your family is in jeopardy. So we want to make sure, and I'm sure there's going to be a question out there about life insurance. Life insurance can be complicated. It is not a one shoe fits all type plan. So it's very specific to your own personal situation. But you have to make sure that you put that piece in place. And then asset accumulation, retirement, being financially free. Do you want it to be at 60? Do you want it to be at 65? Do you want $3,000 a month, or do you want 10 grand a month? There is no right or wrong answer. The only wrong answer, though, is for you not putting a plan to achieve whatever that goal is. So you have to sit down and you have to put together a goal and think 15, 20, 30 years ahead. Where do you want to be? How do you want to get there? What do I need to do today to put me on the right path? And then the last piece is estate preservation. Having a will, having a trust in place. That's important. It is very important for multiple reasons that you make sure your final wishes are put in place in writing, having a will. Why is a will important? Well, what comes in a will is not just who gets what. It's also your final medical directives. Do you want to be left on a ventilator? Don't you? Who do you want getting custody of your children if you have children? Who do you want being your financial power of attorney? Who do you want being your medical power of attorney if you can't make medical decisions for yourself and there's not a spouse involved? All of those things come in a will. Where does a trust come in? Well, one of the things, just give a little bit background on myself. I'm married and 4 kids, all minor. My oldest is 12. Well, minors cannot inherit money. So if I were to leave, something happened to my wife and I, and we were to leave our assets to our children, it would go to whoever has custody. And if I haven't put a will together, one, I didn't even have a chance to dictate who gets custody. And not only that, I'm giving some assets to someone that I haven't chosen yet. So that's why it's really important to make sure your will and your estate plan, your trust is all in place. Now, those are 6 steps. If you put a game plan for all 6 of those steps, you can reach whatever financial goal that you want. But it's very important that you put together a game plan for all 6 of those steps. And that's what I teach people to do, and that's what's really important. So I just want to see if I can go back. I'll stop share. We can go back, and I will pass this along to Miss Delisa Moore.
Good afternoon, everybody. And again, I want to also thank Walker Word for allowing me to be a presenter today. I own Frogtown Financial, which is the biggest thing is we're a tax preparation company. We also have a lot of other things, but today we're going to talk about finances. And as Urshar said, in regards to finances, this money for your refund that you receive can help you build those seven things that he shared with us today. I have been doing taxes for over 20 years. I started in high school. I think that a lot of us, we get these big refunds and don't know what to do with them. And my goal is to help you guys help you save, not spend it all in one place, not buy a car every year. A lot of my clients have children, be able to set those things in place where they saving money for emergencies, for college. And that's my goal for this year and forever. And I think being on here with Urshad is a great opportunity. And we're here to answer any questions. With the pandemic, there's a lot of things that are different this year. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. If we don't get to them today, my website is www.frogtownfinancial.com. We have a chat feature there. I'm also on Facebook.
So before we get into questions, I want us all to make sure that we understand that God expects us to be good stewards. For reference, you can go to Timothy, 1 Timothy 6:17-21. He is anticipations that we're going to be good stewards over his riches. That means the things that he's given us. Another reference is Matthew 25:14-30, where he says this is how we should be good stewards. All of this information is lining up with how God expects us to live back in reference to the things that he gives us. The great thing is that he gives us enough. It says that he gives us what we need. So it's what we do with what we need. So these professionals are here to give you an idea of what you need to do with what God gives you to make you a great steward. So that, like our child said, so moving forward in your latter years, how are you going to live? So these are the steps that we're trying to get you motivated to begin taking out. It's never too early. It's never too early. We should be teaching our children how to save. So I'm going to start with some questions that I've seen over the past years of working in the last 20 or 30 years working with in finances and taxes, and consistently this continues to come up. I was telling both Aisha and Lisa, I'm like, it's just unbelievable that people still are not sure about simple things that now that information is privy to. We want to make this the best year, the best financial year you've ever had. That's our whole desire right now. So one of the questions I'm going to ask Arshad, he was talking about life insurance. A lot of people don't like to talk about it in our community, don't understand really, really what's the benefits of having it. But my concern also is there's so many different things, so many different types of policies out there, whole life. It always tell you, so you're never sure as to how much you really should get. How do you know how much life insurance you should have?
So that's a great question. Life insurance is very complicated. It's so complicated. A lot of times I spend a whole meeting just talking about life insurance because it really is unique to the person or family, a couple that you're sitting in front of. And I say my goal with life insurance is very simple. Is to bankrupt GoFundMe. All right, GoFundMe is not a life insurance strategy, but the reason why GoFundMe is being used so much when something happens is because we have not sat down and talked about life insurance for many reasons. It is a tough conversation because no one likes to talk about passing away or death or moving on or we all feel like we're going to be here forever. And usually it doesn't come up until something happens, whether we experience a death in a family, or we get some news ourselves and we start thinking about it. So one of the things that I sit down with people and we talk about, if something were to happen to you, what happens the next day? What happens the next week? What happens the next month? Where do your kids go? Who's supporting your children? What happens to your house? What debt will get inherited by some other individual? So we talk about that, and there's a very simple method. And since we're talking about general terms, to answer your question is how much life insurance do I need? There's something called the DIME method, DIME. And this is very general and broad, but if we're talking in broad terms, it's a great place to start. And DIME stands for debt, income, mortgage, and final expenses. All right. So if you write that down, you go debt. You write down how much debt do you have. Let's say it's $10,000 in credit card debt, student loans, whatever it is. So now you have 10,000, and then you go income. Now income is different for every single person. Generally, where I start off with my clients is 60% of your income for 5 years. So I do that math for them, and they can move that wherever they want. They can go longer or they can go shorter. They can go 100% of income or less. I go 60% of income because M stands for mortgage. All right. So we're paying off all your debt and we're paying off your mortgage. So I assume you wouldn't need 100% of your current income once those things are paid. And then final expenses, I always round up to 20,000 with funeral costs, hospital bills. So if you take that DIME method and add them all up, that's generally about how much life insurance you will need. All right. And that's the starting point. And if we're talking one-on-one with clients, I dig a little bit deeper with that. But in these terms, that's a good place to start for anyone who's wondering how much. And then from there we start talking about the type, because there are multiple types of life insurance. And that's where I would recommend everyone sit down with an independent advisor or independent insurance agent to figure out what type is best for you. Because what type is best for me might not be best for Mrs. Moore. Everybody's different. We're all in different situations. So, but as far as the DIME method, how much, I think that's a good place to start.
That is perfect. Great information. I hope we're taking notes, because that is great information. My next question, though, is for Ms. Delisa, because that stimulus check, the sound of that is just ringing and burning our ears, and a lot of us really don't get it. Is it taxable? It's not taxable. What if I didn't get all of my stimulus? What if I did get my stimulus? Am I gonna get more? So I just need you to just kind of break down stimulus check versus your taxes, because like I said, a lot of people are there. They're not sure where they're at and if it's taxable. And some people don't want to tell you that they got the money. So especially if they're older, a lot of our older people think that it's not free money and they have to report it to the IRS, which the government sent it to them. So let's talk about stimulus checks.
Yes, the stimulus checks. Oh, that extra money is awesome that you can also put away if you haven't. So the stimulus came out last year in 2020 in response to the pandemic, and a lot of people received the $1,200 in addition to if you had dependents on it. That money, and then you got the second stimulus, which was recently for the additional $600, and then whatever you have for dependents. It's not taxable. It's actually a refundable credit. If you did receive it, you are required to report that on your taxes. And if you didn't receive it, you can claim it on your taxes and get that as a credit on your current taxes for 2020. So it's really an awesome thing to be able to do. What else did I want to tell you guys about it? That credit, if you don't report it, let's say you don't report it and say you got it and you say you didn't get it, and you try to get this extra money, they know who they have given this money to. So be careful when you try to cheat the government, because they will eventually find it and they will come back and get that money back from you one way or the other. Whether it's seizing your property, going to your bank accounts. So just be honest. The money is here to help us, and if you didn't get it, you can get it. If I had a customer that they automatically got the direct deposit of the $1,200, when it first came out of the stimulus. Well, then they didn't get it automatically for the second one. And that's because the first year they got a refund and got their money direct deposited. Well, the second year she owed. So she didn't get it direct deposited right away because they didn't have a direct deposit information for her. So she would have to wait on a check. So just know if you haven't received it and your situation changed from year to year, it is still coming. And if it has not come, you can add it on your tax return this year. The federal government did start sending out forms to say you didn't receive it, and they sent you a letter and say you didn't receive it. You can claim it on your 2020 taxes. But with the mail, the postal service, everybody's getting their mail late. They're not receiving their mail. So you are still allowed to report it on your taxes, whether you received it or not.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So hopefully that cleared up a lot. And anyone that didn't seek out your tax preparer, seek out Mr. Lisa, ask the questions, make sure, like she said, you don't want them to come back because you've gotten too much, because it's worse when they come back and take it than when they're giving it to you. My next question, though, is going to be from Mr. Arshad, because even for me, saving for retirement is big right now because of my age. But I also am concerned with retiring with debt. So which one should I attack first? Should I be attacking my retirement? Should I be attacking my debt? You know, where are we at? Which one?
So those 6 steps that I talked about at the beginning of my presentation, there's no particular order with any of those 6 steps. It's a game plan that we should be attacking all 6 of those steps simultaneously. You know, so we want to make sure we're chipping away at every single one. Now, it is a fact that we do not want to be going into retirement with debt. You want to be completely debt free once you retire. That is very important. So it's important that whatever game plan that you develop, the game plan from a debt standpoint puts you on pace to be debt free. You know, we do not want to wait until all of our debts are paid off before we start planning for retirement, because there's one thing that we cannot get back is time. The longer you wait to start saving, the worse off you're going to be. It is very important to start off as early as you possibly can when it comes to retirement. You know, so it's never either or. It's never pay off debt before retirement. It's a holistic game plan. You have to hit all of those. Even if you can't hit them all as aggressively as you want to, you have to start chipping away at all of those 6 steps simultaneously in order to get you to where you want to be in the long run.
Okay, so I want to keep you there, right there, Mr. Because I want to also cover 401k. We don't talk about that a lot. Some people think that that's an entity that really doesn't exist for a lot of us. Some of us don't even realize we're giving through our job. We're giving 401k. So when we're seeing our job is contributing, should we contribute as well? And if we can, do we go talk to our job about it, or do we need someone like you to help us?
So I think one of the things the 401k has done, or maybe it was already happening before, it put us in a kind of do-it-yourself mentality. Because 401k is at your job, you don't have to get advice for, you don't have to sit down with an advisor. I am a very service-oriented person in the fact that I believe we go out and find experts in the fields that we need help in. You know, if I need taxes, I'm going to Mrs. Moore. If I need my car fixed, I need my oil change, I'm going to a mechanic. I go out and find experts in the fields. I'm not a do-it-yourselfer. And I think one of the things that we do too much in this society is we don't talk to other people about money. And that really hurts us and our future of getting ahead, particularly in 401ks. You know, 401ks are a great resource, are a great way to save for retirement. If your company is matching, I say, you know, get every free dollar you can. You know, that's very important. But it's also important to understand how the 401k is part of the overall game plan. It is not just a 401k game plan. You cannot win financially only by putting your 401k. 401k is a part of the whole game plan. So I would ask you, not only are you putting your 401k, but what else are you doing? You know, and how are you doing it? Because the 401k conversation usually goes into taxes. And if you don't understand how a 401k is taxed, then you're not gonna you'll be able to kind of put together a whole game plan, because 401ks are not taxed today, but they're taxed tomorrow. So you also need savings that are taxed today, but not taxed tomorrow. So understanding how that works in your game plan is really important. So yes, 401ks are a great thing, but I would recommend sitting down with someone, getting advice, because most people don't really even understand the funds or the choices in their 401k. How do you choose the funds? How do you choose the allocation? How aggressive should I be? How conservative should I be? I've sat down with people who end up losing some money and the market went down, and they thought somebody was taking their money away. So understanding how a 401k works is really important. And it's tough to do that on your own, because we are not taught this stuff in school. We were never taught this. So there's no shame in going to get advice or going to find someone you trust to have them teach you these concepts, because it's really important for every single one of us to learn. We're trying to win a game and we don't even understand the rules a lot of times. And that's the issue. So, I would highly advise someone, whether you just have a 401k or you have money outside of 401k, to sit down with someone and have them walk you through the best ways to go.
Oh, perfect. Great answers. So, Mr. Lisa, I wanted to ask you a couple of things now. Social Security retirement. Some people get SSI for disability, and they're always wondering, should I file this? I'm seeing a lot of older folk, individuals that is retired that get Social Security as income, and not sure if they should be filing taxes on or not. So what's the scenarios here of filing taxes in regards to Social Security and disability?
Great question. Social Security, if that's the only income you're getting, Social Security and pension, and you're not having any money withheld out of it, for Social Security, normally it's not taxable. Now, if you have some additional income that you're generating, now that could make that Social Security taxable. Depending on the amount of money you have generated will make that change. When it comes to retirement, most people are having the taxes taken out, depending on, as Urshad said, depending on what the retirement was, or if you taxed on it at the beginning or at the end. That money, some people are having money withheld and they're not filing their tax returns. Well, that money, they can get that money back if they just file their tax returns, because they're not they're not being taxed depending on their filing status. Like I have a client who gets Social Security and has a retirement pension, and she files every year and gets a refund because she has that money withheld. But she doesn't have to have money withheld. She could just get all her money and be done. She won't have to file or anything, but she likes to get that money at the end of the year. She wants a tax refund like everybody else. So it just all depends on how you do your retirement, your 1099. And I think that it's always good. I agree with my client. If you can stand to lose that money throughout the year and get a refund at the end of the year, I think that's super awesome. I do have a lot of clients who are not filing their retirement for whatever reason, and they still have money withheld. So that money's just sitting there. The government's just holding on to your money, and they're not going to just call you and say, hey, I got money for you. You have to file for it to get the refund. So I think a lot of people should try, consult the tax person, bring them your tax documents, and see what you can get back. But if you're not having any money withheld, then you're not required. You don't have to file on that income.
All right. Nice. So the next question is, and a lot of us is working from home. COVID has shut down the office. You're now working from home. Now you're at your kitchen table. You got your computer. Now you're there. You got your software. And from 8 to 5, now you're at home, but you're at work. So my question is first of all, can I deduct my household expenses now that I'm working from home? What kind of deductions can I get now? While I was working from home, I still had to use my internet and I still had to eat, lunch. And so are these expenses now? Are these things that I can write off? What can I write off now?
Great question. As an employee and you're working from home as a benefit and courtesy of your employer, there is no deductions. You can't claim your internet costs. You can't use your room that you made into an office. None of that you can claim as an employee. Now, if you're self-employed, that's a different ballgame. Then you can use those deductions. But with the coronavirus and the employer allowing you to work from home for your own safety and the safety of others, there are no deductions for that. And I'm sorry to say.
Okay, because I renovated my basement while I was working from home. I just want to make sure there's never any expenses that I can take from my home, my own personal home.
No, ma'am. You are an employee of the employer who allowed you to work from home, and there's no benefit for you there. But to be at home in the comforts of your home, you don't have the address. You can cook dinner whenever you want to. You can wash a load of clothes. So, I mean, the benefit is already there. It's just not financially for you.
All right. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Arshad, I want to know, because this is just a hot topic right now, debt consolidation and debt settlement. Which one am I doing? Am I doing consolidating my debt or credit repair? It's just a hot topic. A lot of folks are doing it. There's a lot of individuals that's not professionals. There's a lot of packages out there. They're selling you. So now what's the game plan here? Who should I go see when I'm trying to get rid of my debt?
So, I mean, that's a really good question. I would tell you that the best way to get rid of your debt is probably the hardest way, and the old-fashioned way is to start paying it off yourself. That's the best way to go. If you can put together a systematic game plan to get completely out of debt yourself, it is possible. I understand things go too far though, and you need extra help. There are a lot of programs out there. My recommendation is to find someone you trust. Debt consolidation is on paper, it's a good strategy, but it can be implemented incorrectly, or you can be led astray. The other strategies are good strategies on paper, but it comes down to what company you're going through, what their process is, and understand debt settlement. Things have to get worse before they get better. And what I mean by that is when you work with the debt settlement company, and I have clients who have done this, is that company negotiates on your behalf with all your creditors to settle your debt, probably for a smaller amount than what you owe. But understand the creditors are not going to settle your debt for a debt that you're on time on, you're paying your monthly. They're only going to settle when they don't feel like they don't have, you're not making your payments, and they're probably not going to get the balance. So they don't have any intention of settling with you when you're on time on your payments. So what does that mean? It means you have to be late. You have to be, you have to allow your debt to get out of control, and that can be a risky move. So I highly ask you to do your homework on that before you get into the debt settlement. Is one thing. Debt consolidation is completely different. That's taking all your debt and putting it into one and having one monthly payment to everything. We can do that through home equity loans and that sort of thing. We can do that ourselves. Debt settlement is one of those things that you have to do your homework on, because it could leave you in a worse spot than where you started. But I think the number one way to go is to sit down with a professional who's willing to do this and walk you through a game plan of how to systematically start paying off your debt yourself without using one of these companies. Not saying that's the easiest way to go, but it's the best way to go going forward.
That's great, great, great. So Delisa, I want to ask you a question, and this has just been age on since they've started EIC. We love when we're talking taxes. We just love that earned income credit. We love the sound of it, and getting that extra money that we really didn't work for. So I definitely want to talk about the EIC. One of the biggest issues, one of the biggest myths is, how do I claim EIC? So as a grandmother and with grandchildren, and I keep them all the time. I got to pick them up from school, keep them overnight. I keep them on the weekends. Whenever they fall short, I'm giving money, I'm buying clothes. And their mom's not working. She's really in school. And so can I claim these kids? I see it all the time. It used to be, we used to pass these kids around. Yeah, you can get this much money if you claim them. I make more money, you can get this much money. What is the scenarios of claiming children?
Yes, earned income tax credit is a great credit that the government has given to working families with children. And earned income credit, first off, let me tell you, it's off of earned income. So you have to have earned income. So if your daughter is just going to school and is not working and obtaining any earned income, even if she had rental properties, that's not earned income. She would not be eligible for earned income credit. And if she had, and with her children, you would not be able to claim them as dependents because they're not really your dependents, because they don't live with you, they still live with your daughter. She has them over half the year. It'd be different if the children lived with you and you really took care of them and took them to doctor's appointments and kept them all the time and bought the clothes and stuff. Then yes, you could claim them. But because they don't live with you and they're still the dependent of their parents, you cannot claim those children as for the earned income tax credit. And a lot of people do claim other people's kids and do those things, which it is illegal. And the IRS has 10 years to go back on a tax return. So they can go back and audit you for 10 years. In each year, if you claim somebody else's kid and you don't have proof, they can penalize you for that and ask you for all that money back. We have families like a boyfriend and a girlfriend live together and they have a child together. And normally the mother is the one who normally claims the child, but the actuality is the one who made the most money in the house is the one who's eligible to claim the child. And a lot of people don't know that. They just normally let the mother do it or whatever, but that is the one who is eligible to claim the child. If you are in a divorce situation and you guys are separated, it's whatever's in your divorce decree is what you should be following, as well as the other parent who's not claiming the child has to release that exemption to the parent. And there's a form that needs to be filled out for that. So there are rules to it. So just because you're the grandmother and you do all this grandiose things for your grandchildren that I love to do for my nieces and nephews, you can't claim them. I would love to claim. I don't have any kids, so I would love to claim them. So be careful when you're out here and having everybody prepare your taxes and they say you can claim your cousin's kids. It's not true. It's definitely legal. Be careful.
All right, great, great, great. And so I want to touch base before we, because I know our time is winding down. I want to give you guys a chance to wrap up. But before that, investing is huge now, and some people are kind of looking at it like, well, maybe I can get in this. We're talking about cryptocurrency. We're talking about Bitcoins. So, Mr. Arshad, can you talk about investing and what people should look for? How should they get into investing? Is it a great thing? Does it matter what your income is? So can we talk about investing?
Absolutely. And that's a great question. And it is really popular now. I mean, anytime you have 10 years of the best upward run of the stock market, everyone wants to be a stockbroker. Everyone wants to invest. We hear about what's going on with Bitcoin. We see those big, bold headlines and we feel like we're missing out on something. I think there's two mindsets you have to have. What I talk about with my clients, I talk about long-term financial planning. We talk about IRAs, we talk about Roth IRAs, we talk about 401ks. That's long-term. That's like I said, that's a lifestyle, that's a mindset. That's making sure you're building up a nest egg for the future. And then there's kind of like the day trading, stock trading, Robinhood, E-Trade. That to me is different. If I had to equate that to something, I would equate it to going to Vegas. I would equate that to go to the casino. And what I mean by that is don't put any money in there that you can't afford to lose. All right, because people they stock trade, they day trade every single day in New York and Chicago, and they're professionals. They do this on an everyday basis. You who spend 40 hours of your week as a nurse in the hospital or at General Motors or wherever we work at, you're not going to have the time to put in to be an expert in whatever you're trying to invest in. All right. So just understand there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with setting up a Robinhood account and your friend at work told you about this, can't miss stock or Bitcoin or something to that effect. There's nothing wrong with putting some money in there, but we should not be putting in money that should go to our life savings in those trades. We should be putting maybe extra money, maybe money that we can afford to kind of play around with. So just be very careful in what how much, where does that money come from to invest in those stocks? Is there some secret sauce to it? No. It's you doing your homework, learning the rules. Again, learning the rules of the game before you play. And going in and putting some things in place and open up a Robinhood account or an E-Trade account, Scott Trade account, and see if you could make some money. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Also, just to add that, if you're going to do that, you better get a tax professional, because if you do pick the right one, guess what you have to pay on those dollars or those gains that you make from one year to the next. You got to pay taxes. You got to pay capital gains. So you can't just hit it rich on those stocks and not think the government's not going to want their share. So just understand. I know there's a lot of talk lately about GameStop, and that was really hot for 2 days, a week or so ago. Just do your homework. A lot of people, some people made a lot of money on GameStop, but some people lost money on GameStop because they either got in too late or they stayed in too long. There is no exact science to this. We hear about the success stories like the lottery winners, but we typically don't hear about the everyday people who lost some money in the market as well. So just be very careful with the money that you choose to invest on your own. For everything else that's for long term, again, I would tell you to sit down with a financial professional and come up with a full financial game plan, because it's not about the ups and downs of every day. It's about the longevity and what happens over a decade, 2 decades, and 3 decades.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, Ms. Lisa, I'm going to shift right over to you, staying right on that subject now, because a lot of people don't understand. I work a job, so I'm just going to take my W-2s to my tax preparer and have them complete my taxes. A lot of them have other sources of income coming in that they don't get. They get something for interest that they pay. They might have paid mortgage. They might have won the lottery. So they got all these other little things that they don't know what to look for and don't know that this is still income that has to go on their taxes. So can you elaborate on some of the other types of incomes and some of the forms maybe they should be looking for and understanding that they need to also apply these to their taxes? Some have kids in school, so just can you talk about some of those other forms of income as well as other tax forms that they should include?
Well, absolutely. Yes, there are a lot of forms out there, especially a lot of people are playing with the stocks and cryptocurrency and E-Trade. And so you will be receiving, it's a 1099, B for stock, different stocks, or a K. if you are winning money and you moving that money from those stocks, you are going to get a form. Look for that form. It's just like if you're receiving unemployment. If you received unemployment last year, you're going to receive a form for unemployment, and it's going to report all the income you received and if you have money withheld out of it. And if you won the lottery, you're going to receive a W-2G. That's going to show the amount of money you received if you had taxes withheld out of it. One of the biggest things with lottery is people only normally file federal and state, but there's some income that you receive. You also have to file with the city of Toledo. That's very important. And a lot of people don't realize that the city of Toledo has a tax that you do have to pay, which was 2.25%. Now it's 2.5% as of January 1st. And you get people who ask you, can you claim this tax? Can you go claim this W-2 for me? This winning lottery ticket, excuse me, for me, because for whatever reason they owe child support or they owe somebody else. And then these people you guys are going to claim this money. They're going to give you $50 or whatever, however money you decide on. You are responsible for that tax, that income, because it's saying you received it and you're going to be responsible to pay the tax on it. So be mindful of that. You have retirement money. If you pull money out of your retirement, you're going to get a 1099-R. Social Security, you'll get that form, which is the SSA. What is another big one that people are receiving? Oh, if you pay interest on money you have in your savings, you'll get a 1099 INT. If you are self-employed and you are an independent contractor of somebody else and they're providing you and you working for them, but it's as an independent contractor, you'll get a 1099 NEC. That's a new form this year. It used to just be under the 1099 miscellaneous. So those forms are things you need to make sure that you have, which is proof of your income, and all those need to go to your tax preparer. Even if you're going to owe, you still need to report all of your income. If you're a student and you will be receiving a 1098-C, that reports your school information. That allows you to get the American Opportunity Education Credit. And you need that form if you ever audited to show that you were actually a student at the time and what your bill was, what scholarships you received, because that all determines the credit you get. So just be mindful, everything you receive a form for, and wait, don't just, when you get your W-2s, run to your tax preparer, because what happens is, you go run to your tax preparer, you get your taxes done or you do them yourself, and then another form shows up. And then what do you do next? Then you need to amend your tax return. And that's another cost. And how do you do that if you're doing it yourself? So just be mindful and be patient, and make sure you get all of your forms together and file them at the same time. Now, sometimes we do forget. And when you do forget, you do have that opportunity to amend the return and make the correction and make it right.
Okay, so we're coming to a close. I want to give you first, Mr. Lisa, a chance to just give us a forecast, a tax forecast, things that we should be doing to prepare ourselves, things that, especially now with COVID and everything going on. The other thing of it is that I think that a lot of times we don't talk as a family, making sure everybody's filing their taxes and getting their right forms and that. So I just want to give you a few minutes just to kind of share with everyone as to how to better prepare yourself, even if you've already did this tax season, things that you should look for next tax season, or just like I said, a forecast moving forward.
Thank you. One of the biggest things I want to talk about is estimated tax payments. All of my self-employed people, independent contractors who is responsible to pay all their own taxes, Medicare and Social Security. And you make all this money, but throughout the year, you're not paying any taxes on it. Then at the end of the year, you file your taxes and you have this huge tax bill that you're surprised by. And what you should be doing is paying quarterly, even if it's just $500 because this is your first year. Putting that money to the IRS, because at the end of the year, you can claim that as it's like a W-2, your withholdings. That money is just sitting there and the IRS has received it and it will reduce your tax liability. Even if you're an employee and in reality right now, you just can't afford to pay a lot of taxes. So you done changed your W-9 and want to get all your money right now. Well, if you still just start sending the government some money every month, that at least release the burden of what you're going to owe at the end of the year, because whatever amount of money you make, there's a certain amount of tax you're supposed to pay on it. And the government wants all that money. So to help you lessen that burden is to give them some money throughout the year. If it's $100 a month, if it's $500 a quarter, it's something that's going to help you at the end of the year when it comes to filing your taxes. And I think that's really important, especially for my self-employed people and independent contractors. Put that money away at the government, not in your emergency fund, not underneath your bed, not in your savings account. Send it directly to them so that it's there. So when you file your taxes, you have those estimated payments paid in. And when I say making those payments, not just to the federal government, you need to send estimated payments to the state, because you have state taxes in the state of Ohio. And if you are a self-employed, you also need to send it into the city. Every quarter, like I said, every month. And because I see a lot of my counterparts who are self-employed, they don't do that. And then they end up in a tax situation. And the way you can avoid that is just to make some estimated payments throughout the year. You know, if you're working overtime, that overtime money, send that in directly to the IRS so that you don't have that issue. And I always think that every quarter or 6 months, half a year, you do a paycheck checkup to see if you're being withheld at the correct rate. And do you need to adjust your deductions and withholdings with your employer? And we also have that on our webpage. So you can go on our webpage at www.frogtownfinancial. It's called Paycheck Checkup. And you can put your information in there and that'll help you determine where you're at tax-wise.
Oh, perfect. Now, Mr. Arshad, what's your financial forecast moving forward for 2021? And how do you think families and individuals can start putting together their financial profile to help them have a better financial future?
Well, I think the number one thing that hurts us financially is procrastination. We just wait, and you wake up one day and your kids have graduated high school, you're in your mid 40s, early 50s, you got 15 years left, and then you're trying to hustle and bustle, trying to now think about retirement. There's no earlier day that we can start than today. I would recommend you start today if you haven't started already. If you don't have kind of a trusted financial advisor, ask a coworker, who do they go to? Ask a family member, who do they go to? Find one, because it's really important. This is not, we talk about those 6 steps that I talked about earlier. This is not something that you could or should do on your own. There are professionals out here to help you. I'm not saying we're not intelligent enough to do it on our own. I'm saying we don't have the resources to do it on our own, because the best solutions out there, best companies, the best insurance companies, they don't market to the consumer. They market to the advisor who brings those solutions to the consumer. So if you don't have an advisor, what that means is you don't have access to the best solutions out there. So I would recommend you sit down with someone and to help you figure this stuff out, because it's really important. So don't procrastinate. Start today. Go out, make a phone call, talk to a friend. It doesn't mean you take advice from your neighbor if they're not a financial advisor. It just means you ask them who their advisor is, what steps they go through, how do they like them, and ask for a referral. And I'm happy to help anyone I can, but I can't help everyone. So it's really important that we all find someone that we trust to help us with these issues, and don't wait. I see it every day. I see it every single day. I see someone walk in that's 5 years away and said, Arshad, I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about this retirement. And I look at him and said, okay. But in my mind, I'm thinking, we probably should have talked about this 25 years ago, but we'll do what we can. So start as early as you can. Don't worry about what the market is doing. If you're 10 plus years away, markets right now, whether it's up, down, doesn't matter. It's your habits. How much are you putting away? Markets will trend the way they've been trending for the last 100 years. All right. That doesn't matter. Now, if you're closer, if you do have assets out there and you have 401k built up and you have IRAs built up and you're getting to the 10-year or less mark, then markets do matter. Then you need to sit down with an advisor to figure out, okay, what's the strategy at this part of the race? Because this is a different strategy. The last 10 years is a different strategy than the first 20 or 30 years. So we want to make sure we're starting to protect our money, but if you're 10 plus years away, don't worry about markets. It's just habits, savings, and start today. Do not wait.
Awesome. And, how do people get in touch with you? How do people reach out to you if they need to?
Well, I'll just give my phone number out there. That's fine. My phone number is 419-575-0229. My office is out in Maumee, Arrowhead Park. My email is my first name, irshad.bannister@L as in Larry, P as in Paul, L.com.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I want to first thank both of you. This has just been a great session to me. I'm excited. Walk the Word really, we want to help people live beyond their abundant life. A lot of people say, oh, God wants to live abundantly. He wants to live beyond abundantly. He said more abundantly. And I think the steps to doing that is seeking out professionals like both of you, sitting down with you, really finding out what's the strategy, what's the great game plan for me and my family so that we can move forward. And so I'm excited to see what we'll be doing on our next section. I want to thank everybody that's out there that's listening to us. Just an awesome vision from our pastor, Pastor Timothy Pettaway, and the Walk the Word Ministry. We're hoping to bring together our family, our finances, and our community. So again, I want to thank you both. You guys can also, anyone out there can go to our website, www.walktheword.org. You can reach us out on Facebook. And we can connect you with these individuals if you need. Go out, find you a professional. Let's all get financially set, financially powerhouses, have these great profiles for our families that we might be able to leave legacy not only to our community, but to our family. So again, I thank all of you. I say goodbye. I was honored to be your moderator.
Thank you.
See you later, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.